Recording has begun. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Let's Take a Short Rest podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jake, and I am joined by... Introduce yourselves, everyone.
Go alphabetical.
I don't know. Okay, I'm Aaron, and I am here. I was told there was going to be free pizza, but there's no free pizza, so I feel lied to.
Hey, hi, I'm Michael. I'm also here. I didn't know about the free pizza, so it's been brought into my life just to be taken away.
Yes. Alright, so, this is the podcast where a bunch of friends decide to get together and just talk about random stuff. So, everyone, let's take a short rest and talk about...
That's a long rest.
Yeah,
dang!
That's a long rest. And
I messed it up already.
That's okay. And the topic for today is the MCU Phase 4.
Thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. And I'm just going to start off by saying I was not excited for Phase 4.
I wasn't either.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of just... It felt that, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, had come to its conclusion with Endgame.
A good conclusion.
Yes. A good conclusion, no doubt. And continuing it would just ruin that conclusion. But I will say...
Right at you, Toy Story.
Toy Story 4 should not have been made. And this is where everyone starts to hate me.
Joke's on you, they already do.
Oh, yes, they do. That's right. But with Phase 4 now starting and some of the shows having come out, those being WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's starting to not look as bad as I thought it was going to be.
To be fair, though, I agree. It doesn't look bad at all. It actually looks really, really good. But we are seeing things with characters that we already know versus characters we're going to be introduced to this phase.
I feel like that's a smart move, though. I feel like
it definitely is.
The beginning of Phase 4 is pretty much the wrapping up of things that we didn't quite get to wrap up in previous, movies or, stuff that was, kind of hinted to in, Endgame, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or, things that maybe we were really curious about, Wanda and how she's doing with all this stuff. So, I feel like it was a really good move to kind of, the beginning of it almost still be wrapping up the previous phases. I
do too. And it also, honestly, one of my favorite things story-wise is they're showing us in these shows, the aftermath of everybody coming back. When it's not just being glossed over.
Yeah.
So that makes me really excited.
The thing that is a little bit more worrying, because yeah, and you bring up a good point where it's we're being shown these characters first, that way we're not just being thrown in, being oh hey, we're in the new territory, forget all the old stuff, this is the new phase. But it still is kind of it's like being given a gift after having this toy for so long break, and then it's like being well, we had good memories with that toy, and now they're trying to just give you a new toy that you're still not quite ready for. It's I'm more accepting of these new movies, but I'm still not to the point where I'm just yeah, I'm back in it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, though, it's made me really excited to see what's going to be going on, though. Because originally, I remember talking to Jake after we saw Endgame, which I don't regret seeing in the theater. I kind of feel like that was a thing, even if the theater was empty, you needed to see in the theater.
Oh yeah.
Because our theater was pretty much empty when we went and saw it.
Yeah.
But where was I going with this? Oh, by the end of that, I was just like, well, I don't really care now. All I care about is seeing the Doctor Strange stuff, but I don't really care about anything else. But it's like watching WandaVision and watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, even though it shouldn't be called that anymore. It's made me like, okay, I'll give other things a chance.
Yeah, and I always have to, because I feel like, didn't the Phase 4 whole movement, wasn't it originally supposed to start with Black Widow?
Yes.
Yes, it was. But then, the world decided that it wanted to lose its collective rational brain and go crazy, and for some reason, they won't just give us Black Widow. Like, I feel like the finished copy of Black Widow is just sitting in the Disney offices, and Mickey Mouse is just sitting there, like, just staring at it with hatred in his eyes, and everyone's like, Mr. Mouse, I think we should record it, and he's like, did I allow you to talk, bitches? No! We can't release it because we can't make money!
You think, like, they're really, like, because here's the thing, the more and more they delay that movie, the more and more I feel like it's gonna be shit. Because it's almost feels like, because there's no way that the WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier shows were finished before Black Widow was. Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
No. I'm pretty sure they've actually admitted that Black Widow is done. It's ready. My theory is, well, you know, the whole COVID thing happened, so they couldn't release it in theaters. So, my theory is they've been testing the Disney Plus platform with releasing movies that's like people... They're testing the waters to see how people react to being, you know, charged that $30-something if you want that movie. Because they're still trying to figure out a way to make money off Black Widow, I feel.
Yeah. I don't know, like, because it's just one of those weird things where, like, you know, they did do the charging the people the money for it, and so far the ones that have been, you know, you had to pay that money for haven't been good, and the ones that you didn't have to pay the money for were the good ones. So it's like,
oh, that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah,
that's
a whole other podcast. I think maybe next time we talk about the Disney Plus debacle.
But it does have a release date now. It's July 7th, if I remember. No, July 9th. July 9th is the.
Oh, they pushed it back even more, because last I heard it was supposed to be in May.
It could have been.
It looks like the release date is July 9th now.
Oh, it could have been your birthday, Aaron.
I know, right? I originally thought it was.
But
yeah,
I'm just like, you know, Black Widow was actually a movie that was announced for, like, oh yeah, it's gonna come out in Phase 4, and I knew it was gonna be like a in the past movie. And I still wanted to see it. Like, I really wanted to see it, and I wanted to kind of have that sort of final time with Natasha Romanoff, with Black Widow.
I'm not convinced.
You're not convinced that she's dead?
I'm not convinced that she's not over with for the MCU. Because the thing is, like, granted, you know, it is Black Widow, she's no Iron Man, she's no Captain America, but they've kind of made big deals about people leaving the MCU, and from what I've heard, there's never been any confirmation that she's not going to be in the MCU anymore. So I think there's going to be some bull crappery, whether with the Black Widow movie or with Loki, which I'll bring up when we start talking about that, because I have a theory with that. I don't think Black Widow's done in the MCU.
It's everyone's theory, you know. Oh, they were just a Skrull. the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I honestly hate those theories. Like I'm just gonna go on a tangent for a second here, but all those theories that came out, like, oh, Tony Stark in Endgame, he was a Skrull, or Black Widow was a Skrull. Oh, are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still here.
Okay, it just got real quiet on my end, and
Because you were talking.
Well, yeah, but I'm just looking at the setup, and it kind of looked a little shady, like maybe I lost you guys, but everybody was making theories about, like, oh no, Natasha's not really dead, it was a Skrull, or Tony Stark isn't really dead, that was just a Skrull. And I'm just like, can our heroes have their sacrifice moment? Can they just have that?
Well, also, it's like, can our heroes be our heroes? Because otherwise, if a Skrull can just do everything that our heroes were doing, then who fucking cares?
Yeah, then Skrulls are our heroes. And to be honest, I don't particularly like the Skrulls, because we only saw them in Captain Marvel, and that was a bad movie.
No, that's not true. That's not true. We saw them in the the end credit scene for WandaVision.
Potato.
They were also in, what's it called? Far From Home, if I remember correctly.
Potato. They were introduced in Captain Marvel, and that was a bad movie. There we go.
Okay.
But kind of like, I don't know, because the thing is with, like, I don't know if it was a smart move pushing Black Widow back. I don't know if it was a move to be like, here, let's show them better stuff first, so that they'll actually think that we're doing good, and then they give us Black Widow, and it turns out to be a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
Or if it's kind of this case of, because the thing is that the MCU has been known for really being smart with this overarching connecting story, right? And they said that was kind of not going to be happening as much with these later phases now. Like, there's not going to be as much of an overarching connecting story. But it's kind of weird to have, the start of a phase be pushed back, because you'd think that would be of some importance.
Yeah. I mean, in the Black Widow movie, from what we've seen from, like, trailers and interviews and screen grabs and stuff, is that, it looks like she's dealing with the other Black Widows of the world, because she was like a special super secret, like, Soviet spy agent thing that had, like, other members, so it feels like she was gonna be dealing with that. And there was Red Star that was gonna be in the movie too, who's, like, essentially the Russian Captain America.
Hopper.
Yeah, played by Hopper from Stranger Things. That's half the reason I wanted to see that movie, by the way, is just to see Red Star, because he's, like, this big, burly, bearded Russian guy, and I'm just like, I just want to see him. Just for... And then Taskmaster is supposed to be the bad guy, and I'm like, okay, is Taskmaster gonna be one of those MCU villains where it's like, oh, he's in for one movie, they kill him, now he's gone and dead, or is he gonna become more of a bigger threat that lasts a little bit? Because I feel Marvel finally started to get, like, the balls almost to just be like, okay, let's not kill the villain. Let's keep him around for a bit, because they did that with Vulture in Homecoming. They didn't kill him, which I was absolutely ecstatic for, because I thought that he was a really good character, and I'm like, I don't want him to die. And they also did it with Civil War with Zemo, and they actually brought him back for Falcon and Winter Soldier, and that was so much fun to just see Zemo doing stuff. He's a gem. Zemo is a gem. I love him.
It really does feel like that, they are starting to make it so that, the villain death thing isn't going to happen as much, because, like, they kind of already hinted to this with the first Doctor Strange movie of Dormammu wasn't really, like, killed. He was kind of just, like, sent away for now.
Yeah. Doctor Strange just annoyed him to the point of defeat.
So like, and that movie, I feel like out of all the previous Phase movies, Doctor Strange 1 is the one that basically did not get resolved in its foreshadowing, and I think that's why we're getting that Multiverse of Madness here, and we're going to see how important that movie is. Because especially with that movie, like that's the one that everyone kind of was looking forward to, right? Like that was the one that, like, oh shit, it's a Doctor Strange movie, also multiverse and Wanda, and what the fuck.
So,
I love Wanda.
Yeah, Wanda's pretty awesome. I think that's a good way to transition into talking about WandaVision. But just really quick, before we do that, I want to ask you two, okay, in Phase 4, I know that, Michael, you talked about how they're kind of getting away from the big overarching storyline type deal, but at least in my opinion, there still has to be a central character of the MCU. Like, in the previous 3 phases, without a doubt, it was Tony Stark. He was the pivotal character. You know, he kind of started it off, and, you know, even if we were to say the 2 most pivotal characters, it would be Tony Stark and Captain America. Who would you say, for this next phase, next few phases, should be or will be the focal point of the MCU?
I'll
Sound
go,
of silence.
Yeah.
I'm confused. That's why I was waiting for your response.
Well, no, he was asking both of us.
Yeah, I'm asking both of
okay.
you. Come on, man.
Not bad.
I mean, for me at least, and here's the thing. I think that in terms of a focal point, I don't think it's going to be the same as Tony Stark, right? I don't, because as weird as it is, like, I would say that the Tony Stark being like the main character was very like normal for a main character, where it was like, you know, they were the good guy and they went through their struggles and they learned stuff along the way, and then they had the big battle, and for his case he had a heroic sacrifice. I think for this one it's going to be Wanda, but she's going to be like the central villain.
Okay. Aaron?
And
Well, it sounded like you were gonna continue.
no, I stopped.
Okay. Thing is, I really don't know. I think whether villain or good guy, it's gonna focus more on Wanda, because I think we're moving now into the more mystical, like cosmic kind of stuff, and so I think it's gonna be Wanda, and I think it's gonna be probably Doctor Strange. The only thing I'm wondering with the whole Doctor Strange thing is a little piece of music in WandaVision. The finale when she's returned to Sokovia and she's living in her cottage, and it plays that really cool instrumental. The thing is, yes, Doctor Strange's theme is in that piece of music. It's like the last 30 seconds, but it's very sinister. So I'm wondering if maybe they're going to throw in a loop and we're going to fight evil Doctor Strange in the Multitude of Madness. Or Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. I know what I said. Just because because I hadn't listened to that piece of music, so I was like, oh, it's really cool, I want to go listen to it. So I went, and it's the same but different. Like, the one in WandaVision is definitely more sinister, and I know in What If they've kind of shown that that's going to be a thing where Doctor Strange is fighting an evil version of himself. So I'm wondering if maybe Doctor Strange is going to be the hero of that story, but also the villain of that story.
All right.
I mean, it would really bring in the kind of how Doctor Strange is very much the oddball out of the MCU movies, where it doesn't really stick to the normal thing that the other MCU movies do.
Yeah. That's why I liked it so much.
Yeah.
It was so different.
Real quick thing about the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, because I feel like it's a general consensus that is the big movie that is kind of like the one that probably has the biggest possible oomph to it.
Yeah.
I did not realize that movie was directed by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't remember if they brought him on to do any other Marvel stuff, like for the MCU. Obviously, he did the original Spider-Man trilogy. But I don't know. It's kind of weird to see him kind of come in for this position, because it's weird seeing like these new directors like at this point for sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it could just be that they're going for a whole new tone with the Multiverse of Madness, because if you really look back at the original Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker, those were less so superhero movies as they were just drama pieces. And because I remember watching a video on YouTube kind of about Spider-Man 3 and how a lot of people seem to not understand like the subtleties of Spider-Man 3, on how it's not just a movie focused on Peter Parker getting the black Spider-Man suit and fighting the symbiote and Venom is there and blah blah blah. The movie itself is more about facing your dragon, facing the evil in your life that's in you, as well as and like coming out of that a better person. So it very well could be that the Multiverse of Madness is that Doctor Strange ends up fighting an evil version of himself, and it's kind of a sort of like a look in the mirror of like, oh, look at me, I'm the Doctor Strange that you could have been, but instead you didn't do something and now you're little pansy. And my dog is making a lot of noise in the background. Look, find a comfortable spot, lay down like a good boy. You're very cute. Thank you. But yeah, that's what I had to say about Sam Raimi doing Spider-Man. Or not Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. I was just looking at Spider-Man.
And I mean, I was about to spring up. I was like, maybe it is actually a little too fast to say that Doctor Strange is the big one, because I didn't even really realize that the Spider-Man movie comes out this year.
Probably the holiday season.
Yeah, it's coming out like December. And, this is kind of like supposed to be like a fairly big one, like this is supposed to be something that maybe like is I mean, because especially how the last Spider-Man movie ended, right? Like it was technically the end of Phase 3, despite the fact that Avengers Endgame is like always seen as like the canonical end.
Yeah, Far From Home is more like the epilogue.
Yeah. But it is strange, because Doctor Strange doesn't come out until next year. Spider-Man comes out this year. The Eternals comes out this year. Shang-Chi comes out this year, September. And then Black Widow comes out this year as well. Like, so we're getting 4 MCU movies this year.
Hopefully.
like yeah, I mean, if stuff gets pushed back, it gets pushed back, right? And I honestly wouldn't really hate that, because I don't know, that just seems like a lot for 1 year.
Well, also, I don't mind it being pushed back if they're like, they need the time to make them good. Because that's one thing we've especially seen with the whole COVID thing, especially in video games, kind of not wanting to go off the Marvel theme, because that's our theme for this episode. But, like, there were games that were released prematurely that weren't that great.
Yeah.
So I'd rather you push back and take your time than give me crap.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's like that weird thing, especially with like movies right now, you know, because I don't know really what's going on with like the movie making industry because of COVID. Like I don't know how they're changing what they're doing or like what kind of is like different right now. But it is one of those things of like, especially, and I don't want to go off like Disney Plus thing as well, but I mean, with theaters not opening up, this almost feels like that they're just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
Because some of these movies might be really, really good. I mean, there's not really too much stuff to tell for the ones that are in the later half because we haven't really seen trailers. You know, Black Widow has been teased and talked about for so long that I have almost completely forgotten what it might be about. Like it's like that kind of stuff where it's like, you know, this whole MCU thing has been like tested over and over again and it's worked out. But is this the point where it just starts going downhill, like, consistently?
I hope not.
But
so far they've given us really good stuff.
Yeah. And I think before we go off on another tangent started by me, let's shift to talking about WandaVision. Because would we say WandaVision was probably the start of Phase 4?
Yeah, I would say so.
So if we take the media, the movies and the TV shows and the Disney Plus shows and all that into account, Phase 3 ended with the epilogue Spider-Man Far From Home. And then begins with WandaVision. And I know Erin is going to want to talk a lot about WandaVision because she loved WandaVision and it is pretty good. And I enjoyed WandaVision a lot. That was all I was going to say. I leave it open for you guys to talk now.
What are we talking about for WandaVision?
Everything. What we thought about it. What we thought was good. What we thought was bad. Like, because Erin brought this up earlier on how Wanda seems, in her opinion, seems to be the pivotal character, at least for this phase. And I'd say I would say from what WandaVision gives, I would have to sort of agree, because WandaVision literally introduces like crazy like magic stuff, and I know Doctor Strange also did, you know, with like, oh, we're a bunch of wizards and I'm the Sorcerer Supreme. We literally do magic. But it's almost kind of like, you know, it's an order of like wizards that protect the world from cosmic threats. WandaVision introduced us to essentially unregulated magic users with like witches and stuff. And how there's almost this prophecy of this embodiment of chaos that is the Scarlet Witch. And so then the question becomes, what's that? Explain that, please. But we only get that, like, at the very end. So it's crazy.
And even then, it's not, like, into detail. Basically, it's just like, Scarlet Witch isn't born, she's forged. So that's an interesting thing I think we also need to take into consideration. Wanda wasn't born the Scarlet Witch. It shows she became essentially Scarlet Witch when she got her powers from the Mind Stone. that's when she saw a vision of the Scarlet Witch descending towards her. So it's interesting. So it's like, could that open up the fact that you can technically steal the Scarlet Witch's power, like Agatha was trying to do?
I mean, maybe. Something that just kind of dawned on me, just looking at the lineup of movies coming out for Phase 4. Because, Phase 4 started with WandaVision, which concentrated on, at the very end, magic. And that whole thing. Doctor Strange is going to be about magic. The Loki series that's coming out soon, Loki is a mage. There's a lot of, and Shang-Chi uses, 10 magical rings of power.
Yeah, there's a whole other order that seems to be coming up in that one.
Yeah, so it looks like a lot of the stuff that's kind of lined up is either cosmic or magic.
I said this.
Yeah. I know you did. I'm just reiterating it.
Okay.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna just bring up how this really opens up the door for I cannot remember the character's name from Doctor Strange, who at the end of Doctor Strange was just like, no more magic, I'm gonna kill all the magic users. Who was like his buddy that trained with him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You two talk, I'll look it up.
Cause that really opens up the door for him to really come in as like this semi-recurring, almost like anti-hero kind of deal, where like he's an antagonist for our villains, an antagonist for our heroes, but like he's not doing bad things like to the entire world,
Yeah, he's like, it's been so long since I've seen that movie. I only saw it the one time in theaters when Jake and I were dating, but he seemed like an interesting character. Why did he decide to like end magic users again? Do you remember?
I believe it was because the Ancient One lied about using like these forbidden magics and stuff, and like how no one actually really cared about the rules. It was just all for like personal means, because he was just like, you can't just keep breaking the rules, otherwise shit's gonna go down. And then everyone kept breaking all the rules, where like the Ancient One was using like the weird mirror plane darkness place from Dormammu, and Doctor Strange used the Time Stone, and he was like, fuck this, I'm gonna go kill all the people with magic.
I just looked it up. His name is Baron Mordo. And if you really want to think about it, he was kind of right. People kept messing with stuff, and if you really want to look into like the Loki series, yeah, time is kind of messed up right now. Things are kind of messed up right now because people just wouldn't stop. And it's kind of weird because it's like he almost had that whole sensibility of like there has to be a point where we just shouldn't do anything. Yet if you don't do anything, then like people die. And wasn't that the point of your whole order, was to like keep the Earth safe? But that's just me.
I'm really excited to see what the inclusion of like WandaVision brings to the table, and I'm just excited. I really hope they don't make Wanda a villain, because I kind of feel like that was kind of the whole point of WandaVision, is everybody thought she was the villain. Like, she willingly did all this stuff, but she didn't. And that kind of shows that at the end, because she's like, she just needs to get into control of herself. But the ending does kind of hint at maybe a darker thing, because I don't know if you've seen the ending scene.
Yeah.
But it has her doing basically the Doctor Strange thing, where she is making a cup of tea or whatever, enjoying her day, but then Scarlet Witch is in the bedroom studying the dark book that she stole from Agatha. And it ends with her hearing the voices of her sons calling to her.
So when are we going to introduce the whole why can't I remember his name? The devil.
Mephisto?
Yeah. When are we going to talk about the everyone is Mephisto theory?
And you're Mephisto, and you're Mephisto.
I still would legit be okay with it being Tony Stark's dad.
Explain a lot.
Because that is one of the routes in the comics, you know, like
Yeah.
that was a recent thing.
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually comes up in the Eternals.
That'd be interesting, because, I mean, to be totally honest, the Eternals is one of the things that's coming out that I don't really care about, because when you look up Eternals and you kind of go into, like, their whole story, it's like they're connected to Thanos, and Thanos is dead.
You don't care about Jon Snow?
No, I don't. No, not. I mean, it's kind of just. It's one of those things where I'm just like. It's one thing because they're already introducing a bunch of, like, new characters. And this is like. They're introducing an entire new team. And it's not like the Guardians of the Galaxy where it's like half of it is, like, funny. And the other half is, like, pop culture references, so it's like people can instantly, like, connect with the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think, you know, back in the day, back during, like, Phase 2, Guardians was, like, their big leap, almost their jump the shark moment, where they were just like, we're just gonna throw out this really crazy thing and see if people like it. And, you know, it worked. But now with the Eternals, it's like, here's this entire new team, and from what I've read, I guess it's talking about how they've lived on Earth for, like, thousands of years, and now they're starting to do stuff? And if that's the case, then it's like, well, okay, where were you guys when there was alien invasions happening every few years, just a few years ago? Where were you? Why weren't you helping?
Yeah, because I don't really know, like, when it takes place. I know, like, that these beings are, like, you know, they, like, shaped the world's histories and stuff.
I'm wondering, could one of the Eternals possibly have started, like Doctor Strange's order, and maybe, like, the whole witch covens that we kind of saw in WandaVision?
Maybe. I mean, the thing is, it feels like they're, with magic and the MCU, they are going a very cosmic route with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make sense if these, you know, beings from the galaxy came to Earth and did their own magic stuff.
So I gotta say, I mean, I wasn't really looking forward to the Eternals, right? But the slight thing.
Oh boy,
Jake, do you remember the dude from Train to Busan who was, like, punched zombies and shit?
The really cool, like, soon to be dad guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
He's in the movie. He's Gilgamesh.
They got a Korean actor to play Gilgamesh.
Yes.
Like the Syrian Gilgamesh.
I don't know.
The Mesopotamian
I mean,
Gilgamesh.
You know, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, okay. I mean, if he's a good actor and such, sure, why not?
No, because it's kind of that thing. It's kind of that weird thing. You know, like, everyone has always been at that point with the MCU where they're just like, this'll never work. This isn't interesting. Fuck this. Like, when Guardians was, like, pitched as an idea, everyone was like, fucking, you're gonna have a raccoon in space and it's gonna be alongside a tree? Like, what is this? This is like some 4-year-old shit. And then they did it. and it was great. And it's one of the best fucking like groups out there.
Yeah. So
I will say also with WandaVision, I don't know if they're going to go with this route, but at least to me, it kind of hinted at the fact that they might go down the comic boot, comic book route where there is a comic book where I know for sure one of these events happens. I'm not so sure about the other one. Wanda kills all the mutants. She literally like erases mutants from existence. So I'm wondering if they're gonna do something similar to that, where Wanda is the reason there's mutants now in the MCU. Because it kind of, at least to me, felt that way with Monica getting powers through being thrown through the Hex shield.
yes, because back when we were watching WandaVision as it was coming out, me and Aaron were thinking like, because like essentially her like barrier that she put out, like whenever stuff went through it, it like rewrote its molecular like DNA, essentially its molecular structure, and what it was doing to humans was like really crazy. And because Monica went through it so many times, she's essentially developed superpowers. And we were like, what if that causes, like, mutants? And, like, the X-Men?
It would be really interesting. Obviously, like, you know, there's a lot of questions as to, like, how she would be doing it or why she would be doing it and stuff like that.
I mean, it may just not be a thing she had control over, because it's like she didn't purposely do the Hex or make Westview into like her own sitcom kind of thing. She went with it after it happened, but basically WandaVision is just the, what is it, the 5 steps of grief or whatever. So like the way it is in the show is Wanda comes back from the blip. I don't like calling it the blip. It sounds better when it's the snap, but whatever. And she goes to the sword facility where Vision's body is. And earlier in the show, they set it up that Wanda stormed this building and took Vision's body, where it's not the case. Wanda basically went there and she's like, he deserves a funeral. I deserve this. He didn't want to be a weapon. And the head sword guy's like, nah, he's ours now. We're not just gonna let millions of dollars of vibranium or whatever go to waste. But he allows her to say a goodbye. And that's when she has a folder, and it turns out Vision had bought them a plot of land in Westview to build a home, a place for her to grow old in. And basically she breaks down because she's lost everything she's ever cared about, and the chaos power erupts from her and builds the house, and it causes the hex over the town, and she is able to make a vision from her powers. Because that was the one thing that was also, like, before everything was out, it was really confusing, but like confusing, like you want to keep watching to figure out, because everybody's like telling her like, oh, why are you doing this, she's like, I don't know how I did all this, and you're just like, okay, whatever, you're lying. But it's like the episode comes out and she's like, you're like, oh crap, you didn't do this like purposely, this was like, you really don't know how you did this.
Yeah, and like anyone who essentially has lost everything and then was given essentially a second chance to have what she wanted, it's like she kind of just took it. And it's like, you know, I think anyone would have really done that.
Yeah, like, that's the whole thing, too. Monica, at the end, literally straight up says if she had the power to do what Wanda did, she would have done it, too.
Yeah.
If she had an opportunity to bring back her mom, she would have done it. But I'm just excited to see what they do, because it does seem like we are kind of moving off the normal, like, Earth-based stuff and going more to the cosmic kind of stuff, and that really excites me.
It's really exciting, but it's also very risky to detach the kind of familiarity of stuff by like going out there into space and like coming up with too much stuff. Like it works like in phases, you know? Like you can't I feel like they can't do an entire phase in space, you know? Like they can't just not be on Earth, right? Like cuz otherwise at that point it's like, okay, who cares if Planet Z fucking blows up, you know? Like
I think that's why it was important to kind of start off this Phase 4 with familiar sights. You know, we start off with WandaVision, we start off with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We should have had Black Widow by now.
We'll have that, then we'll get Loki, I believe, is the next thing on the radar, and then like a bunch of fucking movies.
Yes.
I'm kind of worried about the movies now, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It was one of those weird things where when people were talking about how they were going to have shows for MCU stuff, everyone was, at first I felt had the kind of same feeling of like, oh, are they going to be like lower quality? Is it going to be like a dip in the budget? Are people not going to care as much? Are the effects going to be worse? Are they going to be like, it's not going to be as big about like what's going on? But then after we kind of got shown that that's kind of the case, it was kind of like, well, that's kind of just better, you know? Like, we get to have these longer, drawn-out stories that kind of go more into detail about very personal things, so that the movies are all the new stuff, almost, except for, a couple of them. And the newer movies with, like, these newer characters, it's like, is it better starting them off as a movie, or would it be better to get introduced to them with a TV show?
Yeah, because it's like with the TV show, it's like you can take your time with it. You're not confined to a 2-hour long runtime.
You're allowed to kind of give more depth to the character and kind of show, like, these are these things, rather than kind of being like, all right, guys, we're on a time clock. Which, I mean, I think we kind of all like, okay, so Shang-Chi is the big movie that's coming out that's like the new one, right? It's like the first new movie. We're not just recapping like a new character, like, or we're not recapping an old character we already saw. We're not like seeing a sequel to something. It's like, here's a new hero, and like we're gonna introduce a lot of new stuff. Yes. I just don't know if it being a movie was a great idea, like, because like even from the trailer, I could not have told you that it was a movie. It looked like it was supposed to be a trailer for a show, and that's not because of the effects or anything like that. It just looked like that it had a lot that it wanted to bring out.
Yeah, like before we started the podcast, me and Aaron watched the Shang-Chi trailer. And, like, it looked like there were scenes in the trailer that, like, took place in, like, ancient times. And there was, like, one scene where it's, like, there was a battle going on, and there seemed to be this giant battle cat. And I'm just kind of like, well, hold up, wait a minute. What's that? Are we going to see more of that? Is that hidden somewhere? Or is that, like, oh no, it died long ago, and and yeah, because I think it's just that a show, here's the thing, the shows that they're making have to cost just as much, if not more, budget-wise, than making a movie. Just because it's, like, longer, I guess? I don't know, but it... like, I agree with you. I think if they started to do more shows, then essentially the comic book aspect of the origins of the MCU have now come full circle, and it's now like every episode is its own issue, if you will.
Yeah.
And it just goes from there. And I also find it funny and a bit weird because some people like will be like, "Oh, here's this movie. It's like 2.5 hours." And it's like, let's watch this movie. And they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to watch that because it's long. But then people will also binge an entire show that collectively is like 5 hours, maybe?
I think there's a consensus of, because a show stops and goes more often, you don't have to be watching it throughout like the entire time. You know, like you can take breaks in between episodes. You can do things. You can pause it. It's not as big because it's a show. Whereas with a movie, you kind of want to sit and watch the whole thing right then and there, and you don't really want to be doing anything else besides watching the movie when you're watching the movie.
So what you're saying is we should have more intermissions in movies.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly was thinking, and I was like, it actually wouldn't even be that bad of a decision to make more shows, simply because with COVID, people have a lot more comfort watching a show in their home than, like, because you go out to the theaters to watch a movie, right? You don't go out to theaters to watch a TV show. So people are so used to watching shows and being like, hey guys, it's Saturday night, it's the new episode of WandaVision, let's go watch the new episode. Whereas if a movie comes out, it's almost more of a, you got to plan around it rather than just kind of like, oh hey, half an hour this week is this thing. And of course, we're amongst the people that kind of just binge entire shows, but there's more, I think, for a general audience to watching a show than a movie.
Aaron,
I am here.
What would you say is your kind of opinion on the show versus movie aspects? Like, what do you prefer?
Well, I will say both are difficult for me. Just me personally. Because I have a very weird thing where it's like my mind is always going that I could be doing other stuff. So getting into a show is hard for me. But I kind of like the show aspect more than a movie aspect. Because, yeah, with the movie, it's like, okay, an hour and a half, you're done. It's over with. Where a show, like, we're all big into anime, and generally animes take a while to watch. And so that's very difficult for me. As my phone's buzzing. I'm so professional. But I like the show format better for pretty much how Michael explained it. I like the fact that I can, stop for the day. It's like, okay, I finished this episode, I'll watch it, I'll pick it up again tomorrow. Or, hey, I gotta do dishes. Let me finish this episode, pause it, go do what I need to, and then come back. Or the fact that, being a writer, I like to pick up on little details, so it's like, okay, well, I think they mentioned that in a previous episode, so let me just pause this episode and go rewatch that one, instead of rewinding the whole movie, trying to figure out where it was, and then fast forwarding back to where I was beforehand. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, I get. I think with that, there's a little bit more ease of rewatchability as well.
Yeah. In
terms of the information is more spread out but more easily accessible than kind of like with a movie where it's a smaller amount of time than a show, but it's all in one kind of block. So it's kind of hard to kind of like gauge back to stuff. I don't know, like it's a weird thing because I really wouldn't have thought that the MCU could have done well with this, Like I really would have thought that, like, oh hey, they're not going to put as much money into it. But I think they're smart with where they did the money, because like I haven't been able to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, but at least with WandaVision, yes, they have to put as much money into like effects and stuff and actors and stuff so that it's not like garbage, but they don't go a lot of places. There was very little set changes, so I think
And
they
even
saved a lot of
then-
money there.
Even then, with like the magical and effects and stuff like that, that was really towards like the last 2 episodes. Because it's like the first 3 episodes are in sitcom land, essentially, and not much is going on there. It's just a sitcom. It's just Vision eating a piece of gum and his acting drunk,
Yeah.
which was hilarious, by the way.
Paul Bentley is a gem.
Oh, I was watching interviews with them, and you know the phrase like "snitches get stitches."
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he was on this train of getting people to say it the right way. It was "snitches get ditches," because if you snitch, you get put in a ditch and they kill you.
Okay. Death.
Okay.
Death and destruction.
And everybody's like, "No, that's not how it is," and he's like, "No, that's the right way to say it."
That's how they say it in England.
It was great. I'm like, I could get on board with that. But it was a very good show. Honestly, it was the show I've liked the most. Because I feel like we should start transitioning into like Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki and like our thoughts on the new movie too. I don't want to butcher the name, so somebody say it first.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings of Power, or something like that.
Yes, yeah, Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah. By the way, also, I noticed the design change in the trailer for that movie. I kind of like it more. They're
The
like
design
arm
change.
rings
Oh,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
finger rings.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I really think they could have done some stuff different. I feel at its very base, the story was good. What they were going for was good, but then they tried to insert a lot of like modern day social political commentary kind of stuff. And I think that really is going to date the show. I don't think a lot of people are going to come back to Falcon and Winter Soldier and be all like, "Oh, I'm going to watch this." I think just because like of how almost like politically charged it was, and don't get me wrong, if you were ever going to put that in an MCU anything, this was probably the place to do it. And in some places in the show it works, where it's like, oh, America will never accept a black Captain America, blah blah blah, all this stuff. But there was a bunch of other stuff that was kind of there that in my opinion, didn't need to be, or didn't need to be preached as much. Like I don't know. I know I've shown Aaron a few of these, but there's been a lot of like memes out there, like associating the villain's death in the show. Have you seen any of those, Michael?
I've not.
Okay, because I guess the death of the villain in the show is I'm guessing is like kind of controversial, kind of like topic-y to talk about, because some people are like, oh, she didn't deserve to die, and others are like, I don't care that she died. And I kind of fall into that second phase, because how much do you know about Falcon and Winter Soldier, Michael?
Very, very little, if I'm being entirely honest.
Okay, so I know that we kind of gave you the Cliff Notes version of what's going on a little while ago. Me and Aaron did, and Aaron, if you want to jump in and correct me on anything while I'm explaining this, please do.
Oh, I will.
But pretty much after the blip, and I agree with Aaron, I think that's a really stupid name for it. Should have just been called the snap. After the blip, when a lot of people disappeared, a lot of other people, all the survivors kind of banded together and all kind of decided, oh, we're all gonna live together as one world because of this tragedy and stuff. But then when everyone came back, everything kind of went back to normal. So essentially, people who had moved from one country to another were essentially oh, hey, the place where you were staying, the people that disappeared kind of came back, so kind of need to go back to where you came from. And it's what I'm guessing it's supposed to be some sort of refugee metaphor and stuff. But the villain of the show, Carly, she decides, okay, it's bullcrap that we're being mistreated because we remained, and now that the people are coming back, we're getting cucked, essentially. Because we're now being forced to move back to the places that are bad when we had such a good life, and borders are now being resurrected again, and the world should just be one again, like it was during the blip. And
to be fair, I don't think it was so much a go back to where you came from. It was more of just get out. I don't really care where you go, but you can't be here anymore. And I think that was the big issue that group had, was the fact that and I don't really agree with this part. They basically, at least to me in the show watching it, it felt like they blamed people who got blipped for being blipped and coming back. Which yes. I'm just you can't really control that. It was a 50-50 shot. But it does, I understand where they're coming from, because honestly, yeah, it would suck if you lived here for 5 years and then you're coming out of the shower and some random dude's just asleep on your couch, what the heck, and you gotta get out and you don't have anywhere to go. That's crappy. But I do like the fact that the show showed that. It showed, hey, not everything's hunky-dory after coming back, because we kind of got a little bit of it in WandaVision, where it's Monica was blipped and she came back, and her scene, because I think episode 4 was the scene that showed Monica's perspective, and it was just chaos. They the re-blip happened where people came back and the hospital's just flooded. There's people in hospital rooms doubled up. It's just chaos. So I love the fact that it's it shows that not everything went back to hunky-doriness. That's fine. It did feel a little preachy at times to me. But I feel like you said, if they were going to address these things, Falcon and Winter Soldier was the best place to address them.
Yeah.
So, I have a question.
Yes?
Because I'm not sure if this takes place in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and if not, I feel like it's going to happen. In any way, are the Avengers criminalized for bringing everyone back?
No.
I feel like that's going to happen.
I feel like that's going to happen too.
But to kind of, I agree with you. I think it's going to happen, and kind of to further what's going on in Falcon and Winter Soldier, Carly decides, okay, I'm going to acquire the super soldier serum. And me and my crew are going to become super soldiers, and then we're going to make the world go back to the way it was during the blip. And the way that she does it is by stealing supplies from supply depots and to give it to the refugees that are being deposed because of the re-blip. And it's almost like a Robin Hood thing at the beginning, where she's essentially taking from the the governments or the global council association or whatever it is, and giving it to the people that really need it. And that's okay, that's one thing. That's not entirely bad. You're stealing, but it's for kind of like the right reasons. But then Carly starts to like kill people. Like there's literally a scene where it's like they're at a supply depot. They've like beat up all the guards and they've tied them up. So these people are like they're prisoners essentially. And then as they're leaving, a bomb that Carly set in this building goes off and like kills like 10 people that were like currently tied up and like captured essentially. And she's like, this is the only way that people are gonna listen to us. It's the only way we're gonna make progress. And me and Aaron sitting there are just like, and you're officially a terrible person. You just killed innocent people.
Like, it would have been one thing if, like, they stormed this place and the people were fighting back and, people were killed in the fight. That's one thing. But it's like they were tied up, they were disarmed.
Yeah.
You were driving away and set off the bomb.
Yes. And they kind of pull off this whole thing where it's like, oh, Carly, she's just misunderstood. She's just, she's just confused and she doesn't know exactly what to do. And they try to go down the whole route of like trying to talk her down, but like that doesn't work and it just redoubles her resolve. And it's like then she's like, okay, these world leaders that are like gonna vote on like a bill to kind of finalize the refugee displacement thingy. We're gonna go there and we're gonna capture them and hold them for ransom so they can't do the vote. And I'm just like, you're a child. That's not gonna stop this. You can't just kidnap people and say, you're not gonna vote, and then they'll be like, okay, we won't do it. It's like, that's not how the plan
is getting
works.
Like farther along. She resorts to she's just like, kill them. Just kill them.
Yeah, because like, things start to not go her way because like Falcon and Winter Soldier and
excuse you, you will address him as
Captain
proper.
America. The former Falcon, now Captain America, shows up, and and she's just like, oh, things are starting to go bad. Let's just kill these people that we kidnapped. Let's just kill them. These world leaders. Let's just kill them. And it's like, how can anyone look at this character and be like, I'm just like, no, she's bad. She wanted to kill innocent people. It's like,
Aaron, I really, when you said, say them proper, I really thought you meant don't call him Winter Soldier, call him Bucky.
Well,
really, that's where you're going with that.
And the show makes it very clear that he is not Winter Soldier anymore. Kind of getting off the whole, like, underlining possible things in the show. It was a good show. It gave Bucky so much. Bucky's part is really good in the show. Like, it's showing him dealing with, like, his past. Like, one of the first scenes is him having a nightmare about, as Winter Soldier, he killed this, like, whole building of people, and he kills this young Asian man. Turns out, that young Asian man was the son of one of his former World War II buddies that he goes and has sushi with and dinner. So he's trying to figure out a way to, because as far as his buddy knows, his son was just killed. He doesn't know who killed him or why or anything like that. So Bucky's kind of having to deal with, like, okay, I need to... He's trying to make amends for everything he's done. And he's great in the show.
And he's a nerd.
He is a nerd.
He read The Hobbit. He read The Hobbit. Came out.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna say, there's a funny bit towards the end where they're so Sam goes home and his sisters, their family had a boating, like, seafood business, and she's wanting to sell the boat, and Sam's like, you can't sell our history, da 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 da. So towards the end of the season, Bucky comes and he's helping Sam fix stuff, and he's using like a wrench or something, and Sam's like, "Really? You couldn't have used your other arm for it?" He's like, sometimes I forget it's there because I'm right-handed.
I got this cool middle arm, but I forget about it sometimes.
I'm right-handed, so why am I going to use that arm?
I will say something that they did get right. They got a lot of things right in Falcon and Winter Soldier. One of the biggest things is Sam Wilson himself, because I feel
I love Sam.
They could have just made him a mouthpiece for political stuff, but in reality, it kind of like, they did kind of a little, but for the most part, this was the show that shows just how much Sam Wilson is supposed to be the next Captain America. Because if you really think about it, Captain America was a man who knew right from wrong. He knew what the right thing to do was, and he never gave an inch. And that's kind of what the entirety of what Falcon and Winter Soldier is about, is Sam getting lambasted with all this stuff, and the world is asking him to change, to do this, to do that. Why are you still holding on? And in the end, it rewards him for holding on, because at the end of the day, he was pretty much right about, everything. And it was almost just like Sam had to go on this journey to finally accept that part of himself, and the part that it's not bad to be who you are and what you are. And now he's Captain America, and literally it is the best thing in the world to see him and his Captain America get up.
Oh my god,
and just,
yeah,
I was just like, yes! Finally! The boy has become a man! And on top of, Bucky being incredibly amazing, Sam being amazing, the red herring of the show, John Walker, who starts out as the government-issued Captain America. How they did his character is honestly great. I feel it was great, and the outcry of people towards the show and the actor was completely just ridiculous. Because it's like, people were like, how dare you be the next Captain America? And it's like, welcome to the point of the show. It's like people don't get nuance anymore. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to not root for this guy, because he's not Captain America.
And I'll admit, I was one of those people, I didn't vocally say it on, social media or anything, but watching it, I was like, you're not my Cap. You're not my Cap. Where's my Chris Evans? I want my Chris Evans.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, that's the whole point. The whole point is he is a hurdle for Sam to get over and realize he needs to be Captain America. As much as I don't like it, that's the whole point of the show, is I'm not supposed to like it. And if I don't like it, that means they did a good job.
It's a proof of not anyone can just be Captain America. You have to really
yeah.
Yeah, and I would even say John Walker himself, he isn't a bad person. He's a person that was given the impossible task of being Steve Rogers. They wanted him to be the next Steve Rogers. The government did. And they set him up for failure, essentially. And the second he was shown to be defective or not up to the case, they kind of just abandoned him. And, so Sam Walker himself is a victim of circumstance because he just wanted to do his job the best way that he could. And I think just the pressure of being Captain America got to him, and it slowly, like, kind of destroyed him. Which is why I'm more... And in the end, he actually does redeem himself. Because there's a point at the finale where he comes back in and he's like, I'm gonna save the day! And he's like trying to save the day.
And I'm Texan!
Yeah. And it's like, because he wants to kill Carly because Carly's responsible for, like, the death of his, essentially, his sidekick. He has, like, a sidekick or, like, a partner, and they were old, like, war buddies, and his sidekick ends up dying during the hunt for Carly. And so he wants revenge. And so it gets to the point where it's like he can either go after Carly and get her, or he can save people, that some of the, like, world leader delegation that, like, they're in an armored truck about to, like, go over a cliff, essentially. So he has a choice, and he chooses to save people. And in that moment, he redeemed himself, because that's what Captain America would have done. That's what a hero would do. And so, I feel he's then rewarded after that by not being Captain America anymore, but by being U.S. agent. So,
to be fair, his employer for U.S. agent is super sketch.
Oh, yeah, like, I mean, I definitely think John Walker is going to still be a pawn to people, but the character himself is not a bad guy.
Yeah. And I've told you this, and then Michael, I've told you this when we've talked about it before. I feel like John Walker is a victim of the situation, because everybody, hang on, there's planes going by. You guys talk while
Well, I mean,
victim of circumstance. Yeah, it's kind of that whole shtick.
Yeah.
Well, okay, they quiet down. Because everybody wanted him to be Steve Rogers' Captain America. Everybody. He's put on this pedestal. He's already a war vet, so he already has stuff going on. But it's like, you know, they're trying to get perfection out of him, and that would break anybody down. And he kind of loses his freaking marbles. Especially because, like, in the typical dick measuring contest between men, you know, it's Bucky and Sam trying to find out, like, what Carly's up to and stuff and what's going on with this, while Walker and Lamar, his sidekick, Battlestar, are trying to figure it out too, but they aren't getting as far as Bucky and Sam are, and that's kind of, like, grating on him too. He did defile the shield, though.
I mean, I'm just kind of like, out of all the years that shield has been used to hit people, this was the first time any blood got on it, really. Even when they were fighting the aliens.
Alien blood is different.
Alien blood is not human blood.
No! How dare you!
Silly Aaron, aliens aren't people.
Mantis is gonna have a word.
Yeah.
Oh no, Mantis is gonna put me to sleep again. I don't want it.
A majority of the Guardians of the Galaxy are like, bruh.
Excuse me?
Bruh.
Drax is standing in my room as we speak. He's just so still I can't see him.
Also Thor.
Yeah, Thor. He's technically not human.
But he bleeds.
But he bleeds red.
So do aliens.
So only red blood matters.
Aliens?
Only red blood
Shut
matters.
Shut up. But yeah, I liked Falcon and Winter Soldier towards the end. I'm a little on the fence about what they're gonna do with Sharon, though.
Yeah, because she kind of ended up being A bad guy?
So, Michael, because you haven't seen the show. So Sharon Carter, and my mouth stopped working there. Sharon Carter is in it, and she's been hiding out basically in this criminal city because she's still wanted in the U.S. for civil war. And so she's there, and Sam and
Wait, she's
What?
still wanted after like 5 years?
yeah,
Yes.
welcome
to the U.S. government, dude.
Bucky and Zemo go to this place to try to get information about, like, essentially Carly and like their stuff going on. And so she helps them there the best she can. And so later on, it's and everybody's trying basically not to piss off the power broker, who's basically the leader of this town. Turns out she's the power broker, so she got Carly the super serum. She has her hands in lots of little things. And after the events of the finale, she gets pardoned finally. So she's reinstated at her position, she's pardoned, she's free to come back. And the end credit scene is her calling. She's like, yeah, I got an in the US now. Prepare for all them high class secrets. So it's kind of hinting that she's going to become a villain. And I'm just like, that seems really out of character for her, but at the same time not, because she did get royally fucked over.
Hail Hydra.
I don't think Hydra... Well, the theory is she's a Skrull.
Everyone's a Skrull, okay? That's why I hate those theories.
Well, my theory for Black Widow not being dead is not that she's a Skrull, just because she was put in the Soul Stone. In the comic books... Well, in the comic books, pretty much anybody that's put in the Soul Stone could come back. That's how they got Gamora back. So it's like, if they follow comic books, there could be a way for her to come back.
In the movies, that's not how they got Gamora back.
Not in the movies. In the movies, but in the comic books, that's how Gamora is brought back once, and other things, because pretty much also that's where everybody went when they got blipped. They got put in the Soul Gem in the comic books. But I don't think this is the end of Black Widow, because they're not making a big deal of her exiting the MCU. So methinks it's very hush hush that she's still going to be there. Let's move on, because I want to talk about this.
About what?
Loki.
Is Loki coming out next, or is Shang-Chi coming out next?
Shang-Chi is coming out next. But let's talk about that, because then I want to talk about Loki.
Okay. Because, honestly, because over time, like, looking over the trailer and stuff like that, I am actually looking forward to Shang-Chi. It's one of those things where I think I'm skeptical, because, a new hero, who dis, And it's kind of that weird thing of, like, the solo hero movies introducing, like, new heroes haven't been great in, like, the past phase. Like, we haven't had
Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Doctor Strange was good, but
Marvel.
Yeah. It's kind of the thing of, you really have to nail it, and I have some good faith, because, like, I feel like the trailer isn't doing it justice. Because, like, I feel like the trailer's shot, like, every, kind of, like, action-y, like, oh, hey, it's a superhero movie, and we're gonna have you find the power. But it actually feels like that movie might be a bit more, I don't want to say serious, but I want to say, like, it's gonna be a lot more not as tone deaf as, like, maybe some other movies have been.
Like what movies would you consider
like,
tone deaf?
Like I would consider, I would consider like the first two Thor movies kind of tone deaf.
Okay.
You know, like they try and be serious, but like they put in the comedy, but they don't make it blend well. Like it doesn't decide what it wants to be. Whereas like Ragnarok is like, hi, we're a comedy movie. welcome to the fun house. And you know, it's kind of that afraid thing of like, you know, you need to, and like Captain Marvel, like that's another like tone deaf movie, you know, like it makes jokes, but it's trying to take itself too seriously whilst making jokes, you know, like it's like the opposite of what the MCU is known for. The MCU is kind of known for like doing stories really well, doing characters really well, but still having fun with it, as opposed to having fun while being serious. Like, you know, like that's not quite, it doesn't just blend well with that. But I mean, it's always been one of those things, like, I don't know what they're going to do with Shang-Chi. I don't know, like, because there's not going to be an Avengers movie for a while. And I don't know if he's going to just, if there's going to just be, like, a whole, like, team up in the future, and they're gonna have like all the magic users like on like one team, and it's gonna just be like, hey, welcome to the Magic Avengers, we're here to cast spells and take names. Because like we don't really know, you know, where these characters are going that are getting introduced. Like, we're just having a movie to have a movie, and it's not gonna really come up ever again, because that's not really what the MCU's, you know, shown before.
What do you think, Aaron?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, to me, I'm a little apprehensive about this movie just because, like, rewatching the trailer today, like, there's something that worries me. Is during the fight scenes, I got flashbacks to Mulan. Like the slow motion kind of like stuff going on, and I'm hoping I'm wrong with that, but that's just how I felt. I did want to mention, because earlier you talked about the mystical creatures and stuff in there. There's a little bit of a spoiler. I don't know if like how much of a spoiler it is, but one of the Marvel Legends figures for this movie is, her name's Katie. She's a Target exclusive, and she comes with like this weird fluffy dog kind of winged headless thing that is, I guess, shown in the trailer very like quickly.
A
like,
dog winged headless thing.
It's like the body of kind of a tailless dog with like chicken wings and doesn't have a head. So I'm wondering if,
can you like send a picture or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm
just like, what is this eldritch being that you're speaking of?
Because I'm just like, okay, how are you getting dog without there being like a head as reference? Like, if there's no like head, then how is it like any more closer to a dog than like, I don't know, a cat? Or
I guess I could put it in the Discord, that way Michael can see too.
yes, you could. Because kind of looking, you know, I definitely.
What the fuck is that thing? What the fuck is that?
What the hell?
That is a nightmare creature. What
that
the
is
shit?
Not okay. and that isn't what I was like saying is in the movie earlier. Like, if you go back and you look at like the trailer, there's literally a scene where like it looks like this guy is like charging into battle, and like there's like this big like cat monster that charges with him. It looks like a giant saber-toothed tiger.
You're talking about.
Yeah.
I just was showing you that there is a merchandise with a magical like creature, so it may not be back in time kind of thing. It may be like hidden world kind of thing, perhaps.
Yeah, I'm gonna like actually bring up this freaking thing on the podcast. So
it is terrifying.
This,
I have no idea what the fuck it's supposed to actually be.
Not
apparently this character is the chick that's on the bus.
Oh, really?
When they're crashing. Supposedly, that's from a different video that I watched. So I'm not sure, but she doesn't look like that at all in the trailer. So
yeah.
Like these, maybe spoiler, but it's like you can walk into Target and probably see the action figure. So,
So
she was in Crazy Rich Asians, and she was pretty good.
And its name is Mort.
Mort.
I feel like they're just trying to do a Captain Marvel with the cat thing again, where it's like, oh, here's this cute little creature that's actually like horrifying.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we don't really know what the fuck the thing is like I don't know. Like this movie, it really does intrigue me. I'm just afraid that they're doing too much in one movie, like, because like the premise I think is great. I actually think that the action might be a lot better. I think they just probably grabbed a little too many snippets of slow motion clips for the trailer, because you know how trailers work.
Yeah, because I was just telling Aaron, like, rewatching the trailer, like, I'm actually like excited for like a good like kung fu action movie, because like those kinds of movies, guilty pleasures for me. Why?
Oh yeah.
So
you guys both just don't mute your phones, do you?
No, mine's muted. It's on vibrate. So sitting on my desk, it gives the vibrate.
I just muted mine.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think that far ahead. Again, I was focused on the free pizza that I was lied to about.
Yeah, I mean, like, also, like, okay. Because, like, I really don't know what the premise of this movie is at all. Like, that's kind of one of the few reasons why I'm actually kind of really interested in it as well. Is like it looks like, there's probably some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a heritage kind of deal going on, where it's like, oh, like our main protagonist is like the son of like some powerful lord that's had a family that's gone down like through generations, like either protecting something or holding on to some power. But there's also, like, a lot of scenes where it just, like, shows... It gives me flashbacks of, like... You know how, like, in Guardians 1, we were, like, kind of told what the Infinity Stones were?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of giving me flashbacks of that, of, like, we're gonna be taken on a journey as to what these Rings of Power really are, as to, like, how powerful they are, or, like, what they all, like, embrace and stuff like that. And I know that I honestly might be completely wrong if these are the same rings that the Mandarin is supposed to use in the comics.
They are.
Because those rings all, like, had basically their own power.
MCU, I don't know. Comic book, I believe so, yes.
Because it sure would be interesting if we got basically an actual the Mandarin in, like... the MCU as mainly, like, maybe, like, the villain for Shang-Chi.
Yeah. And something I want to just bring up, like, through the trailers, it looks like there's a bad guy that looks like it's played by Jai Courtney. He's, like, the big, like, kind of, like, there's many scenes of him, like, fighting what looks like Shang-Chi, and it looks like he has, like, a robotic hand. Because,
Jai
like...
Courtney?
it looks like Jai Courtney. And, like, his robotic hand is, like, where the hand is supposed to be. There's, like, a samurai sword, like a katana or, like, some kind of sword. So maybe, like, I don't know if that's, like, important or not. I just think it's cool that, like, there's this guy that, like, oh, I don't have a hand, but I have, like, a weapon where that hand is supposed to be. It's like, you look at the trailer, and there's the guy who's just, like...
I mean, there's that guy, but there's also, like, the Oni mask guy.
Oh, yeah. But I'm not sure if the Oni mask guy is supposed to be... like Shang-Chi, or it's supposed to be his dad, or like another, like, member of Shang-Chi's, like, order that's like, hey, you need to come back. And Shang-Chi's like, no, I don't want to. Then he's like, then I will kill you. It's like, but why?
So I looked it up. It's not Jai Courtney.
It's probably the other guy that looks like Jai Courtney.
I mean, this guy's only been in like a couple movies, really.
Okay.
It's kind of his second movie. He's a Romanian actor. His name is Florian. Here we go. I'm gonna butcher it. Munteanu.
Why is it that Jai Courtney has so many clones in the world? Like, there's literally another active actor in Hollywood that looks like Jai Courtney, but it's not Jai Courtney. And I get them confused all the time, and so I thought, like, oh, I actually did a good this time. But no, apparently not.
I don't know. I think, I don't know, and I might be completely wrong. Like, this movie might just bomb, right? But it really does feel like that this might be like that Guardians kind of deal, where like the style of it looks a little too out there. It looks like it's a little too like, okay, you know, this is kind of like too new for us. This is a little bit too much. But then it turns out to actually just be a jam.
Yeah.
The other ones I've got no fucking clue over, you know? Like, I really, you know, like, the Eternals, I've got nothing to go off of for that one.
Should we switch over to Loki? Because I know Aaron's excited.
Loki.
Okay, so one thing we saw, because we watched the trailers before we decided to do this, is I thought of something, and this was probably already there, and I'm probably stupid for not picking it up. So, in the first trailer, or second trailer, whatever, one of the trailers, Owen Wilson basically tells Loki, like, you grabbing the Tesseract messed with the timeline and made all these branches, and we gotta fix it. And then later on, it shows, you know, Loki's new costume where he's basically wearing a tie with the shirt and a jacket that says Variant on it. Does his jacket say Variant because he is a variant Loki? He wasn't supposed to be there?
I think so, because I think in that very trailer, Owen Wilson and like another member of the Time Protectors Association or whatever say, like, do you really believe in this Loki variant? But yeah, I think
I didn't catch it the first time, so I felt really excited when I got it this time. I was like, oh my god, it makes
I feel like it's gonna be like Owen Wilson is gonna be with Loki and be like, here, wear this jacket so that I know which one's you.
So, real quick question for you guys about, like, kind of the Time Protectors Association or whatever it's supposed to be called. It looks as though they're somehow connected to the Triumvirate. Is the Triumvirate, is that Marvel or is that DC?
Triumvirate. Oh gosh.
Or like the Trinity. It's like three very powerful, like, cosmic gods, essentially.
I want to say that's probably DC.
I have not heard of that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look it up as you guys start talking about.
Another thing. Okay, so I've heard people say that this character is just a female version of Loki, but there are a couple scenes where they're on like a outer spacey looking place, and there's a short-haired girl that Loki's talking to.
I'll try to find a picture.
Be Black Widow. Like, people are saying that it's female Loki, so I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just wrong, but I'm just like, it kind of fits.
Does it?
Well, how she looks in the trailer kind of looks like Natasha.
I thought you meant like it fits like story wise, and I was like, I don't know why she'd be there.
I don't know either, but also another thing. The O in the Loki title looks very similar to Natasha's symbol. I'm gonna show a picture. Hang on.
Yeah, bring up a picture so I can do all that stuff with it because.
Well, I'm making a picture, so.
Yeah, I'm showing a picture right now of the scene that you were talking about. Of how there's like, and I'll probably also share it in the Discord so Michael can see.
That little creature is terrifying.
It is horrifying to look at. I don't want to look at it ever again.
Oh, so I can't get this figure?
No. So... Oh, okay. So there's two pictures for you to look at, Michael, in the Discord.
You're talking about the Black Widow, like, literal, like, thing. You're talking about like those two like little wavy bits that are sideways on the O.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a D, but that thing inside.
I can see it. It's kind of stretching, but I mean, with the other picture and then that, I mean, it's like possibly, but I'm just like, why would they bring her in to Loki? Like, what does that accomplish?
I don't know. Maybe it's a whole time thing. The thing is, like I said, I'm probably wrong. I'm probably stretching, and this is just female Loki. But I'm just like, okay, if it's female Loki, why is the hair color different? Like, if it was a gender bent Loki, shouldn't they look similar, like with hair and stuff?
I mean,
I'm just talking about like the color, because that color is like a reddish, blondish maybe, and Loki has black hair.
I mean, yeah, I can kind of agree with you there. Like, and also it's like, I don't know, like I'm not sure like why they look so different and stuff. Like, especially like what is Loki wearing? Like,
well,
like,
he has to fix the timeline, so he has to dress like the timeline people. So he's wearing like a button-up shirt and a tie and some khakis. You know,
yeah.
business.
But that's not what they're wearing. They look like that they're like the female looks like they're wearing fucking like looks like they have a sword on their hilt.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what Jake brought up. He's like, I don't think that could be Black Widow because it's like she has a sword on her hilt. But I'm like, we don't know what the landscape is like if this is supposed to be the soul gem. If that's the case, it's not going to be. But if it was, because the thing is, the costume looks very similar to hers too. Like, this may not be. It may be like a death thing where it's like you don't necessarily look how you looked when you die. It could be like what you were most familiar with.
I will say that if it is Natasha, right, I don't see her coming out of Loki. I see her staying in Loki and this being like the actual goodbye of the, oh hey, you know, I gotta fix this, so you're gonna have to like disappear.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like, that looks very suspicious to me. And I just like, at the same time as I know I've mentioned like, oh, I don't think she's out. It's not because I want her back in the MCU. Honestly, I am a firm believer that once a character is dead, you leave them dead. I'm looking right over at you, Ruby. But there are a lot of things that makes me think that maybe she's not out of the MCU yet. Because again, they didn't make a big deal about Scarlett Johansson? Is that her last name?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not being a part of the MCU anymore. It's just other little things like that where I'm just like, okay, I don't think she's done. I'd rather her be done because I think it takes away from her death and how emotional that was.
I mean, to talk about like the Black Widow movie, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is in it as Tony Stark.
Yeah, but he's not having like his own full film again. Because it's like you could still say, well, technically, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. are still part of the MCU because they're voicing their characters in the What If series.
I didn't even realize that was the case.
I'm pretty sure they're getting all the original actors to voice their characters.
Huh.
But I'm not 100% on that. I think that's what I heard.
We can only hope.
Actually,
I guess.
no, I do know for a fact Chris Evans is voicing Captain America because I read an article that made a big deal that he was accepting another comic book role. It's like, technically, he already had this role, so he's not accepting the role. He already had the role. But whatevs, homie. Whatever gets you your story.
I feel like Loki is probably the easiest bet as the show that's going to be the most fun. Like, or like the one that's going to be the most fun coming up, like in Phase 4. Because I mean, like it's Loki. You got a bunch of fucking multiverse shenanigans. You got a bunch of time travel wibbly wobbly bullshit. That's going to just be him fucking around. You know that he's going to just do the most random shit that like. He's meant to not be fucking with the time, but he'll just be having a ball with it because he knows that like he
I
can
am
go
so
back.
looking forward to that. Also, one of my favorite scenes from the trailers is I can't remember what Loki says, but Owen Wilson is like, dude, I've studied your life. You betray people. You've stabbed people in the back like 50 times, and Loki's just like, well, I'd never do it again. It's like, we all know.
This being old school Loki who hasn't had character development yet, by the way. Like, that's the big part, is that this is New York Loki. This isn't fucking, oh, hey, I actually learned to like my brother Loki. This is jackass, I just blew up New York Loki.
Yeah.
You know, best Loki.
I mean, all the
like
Lokis
Loki.
are great.
Yeah.
All Lokis.
I'm just glad Tom Hiddleston.
I believe that's
yes.
his name.
I'm just glad. I love him playing Loki. It's great. Because he looks like he's just enjoying it the entire time he's on screen. He just eats that shit up.
Which he's also in Doctor Strange.
Old one or new one?
The new one that's coming out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, fiddlesticks. Or should I say, hiddlesticks?
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. Oh man, this is like just looking at the cast for movies, right? Like, is getting me is just giving me a bunch of theories and shit. Because Doctor Strange comes out in 2022, right? And Doctor Strange is in the Spider-Man movie that's supposed to come out later this year. I'm just like, oh yeah, he's in No Way Home.
Doctor Strange?
Yes. I know, so I'm just like, oh gosh, we're going all over the fucking place. He's just everywhere.
Maybe he's the central character.
It's
he
all
might be.
kicking off.
Oh, that was another thing. Well, I think it's going to be kind of between him and Wanda because the thing is, Agatha distinctly said that the Scarlet Witch is more powerful than the Supreme Sorcerer. So I'm interested to see, because the thing is, I don't think that's just a throwaway line. I think that's hinting towards something.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see it. I'm so excited, actually, for this next phase.
It's that thing of man, you've you're setting up, like, this is the setup phase, right? Like, we all know this. Like, this is the phase that's supposed to set up, and then probably the next phase after it, if this one is successful. Granted, I think that they've made enough money to make fucking 3 more phases as is.
Just off the original phase.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of that thing of, like, you know, you're setting up some really interesting shit. You know, like, everyone's already talked about, like, okay, if there's gonna be some big villain for, like, Avengers to have to face, who's it gonna be? Is it gonna be Galactus? Is it gonna be this? Is it gonna be that? You know, like, everyone's just, like, so excited because it's like, there's a whole new realm of possibility because we're starting fresh. But at the same time, we're starting fresh, and that's scary. I don't like change. Ew, get it away.
Gross.
like it's that, you know? Like,
You're Cartman with the 6-foot pole right now.
like
6 feet away.
I like my comfort zone. Let me in my safe space, you know? Like,
My safe space.
but at the same time, like, ooh, brand new toys to play with, but they're new, and I don't like things that are new.
What you do is you take your new toys, you take them outside, you grab a handful of dirt, you smudge the crap out of them, then they're not new anymore.
Yeah.
So every time you watch one of these new movies, you go back and you watch one of the older movies. Put a little dirt on that toy.
Yeah, just every now and then I'll just be like, I mean, you know, I actually don't know who some of the directors for some of these other movies are. Who's directing Black Widow?
So while you're looking that up, I did see something last night, and I kind of want your guys' opinion on it. I saw that fans are petitioning for them to replace, I don't know his last name, but Chadwick, the guy that played Black Panther, to recast the character.
I thought they already had said that they weren't going to do that.
That's what I thought too, but apparently there's a petition going in that they need to recast the character because the character's story's not over with. But I'm just like
a fan-made petition?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not going to get anywhere then.
I hope it doesn't, because I'm just like, yeah, it sucks. I would have loved to see more of his Black Panther. I liked his Black Panther. But unfortunately, I feel it's a bit disrespectful to his memory to recast him.
I would agree with that.
Yes.
So, I'm all for Shuri or Okoye? Okoye? Oh,
okay. I didn't know what you're
Vanguard lady to be Black Panther next. I'd totally be okay with that.
She's honestly a really good actress, is the thing.
She is. I've really enjoyed her. But I'm just like, let's just move on.
Yeah, I feel like this phase, more than else, needs to be the phase to let us resolve things, but also let us move on without it being like a, you know, we're moving away! Say goodbye to your friends! We're gonna go, you're gonna have to make new friends, you know? Like, it has to be kind of like, you know, hey, it's done, it's good, but there's more. There's more. Look at the new doors that have opened up because of these opportunities.
I will say, like, I wasn't a huge fan of the original Black Panther movie. I wanted to like it, I just didn't. Just because I just felt it was a little boring. I didn't like Killmonger. Just many reasons why I didn't like that movie.
Yes.
But I could see them pulling something in the next Black Panther movie, because more than likely, I'm horrible at names. T'Challa? Is that Black Panther's actual name?
Yes.
More than likely, you know, he's either going to pass away in the movie, or I'm assuming they're just going to retire him. Like, he did get his girlfriend back in Black Panther, so maybe they're starting a family. Maybe he's going to focus on ruling the kingdom. I don't know. Or he's going to step down or something. So I think it should be Shuri. I'm probably butchering her name too, to become Black Panther. But I would imagine they're going to, like, CGI him in.
I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, that's... like, I don't know. Like, it feels weird to do that.
I know it does, but
Yeah.
that's what I feel like. I feel like it's just gonna be a quick, essentially goodbye scene.
I would almost feel better if they just did it from, like, his back, you know? Like, we didn't see his face.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, the voice, you know, like, if they had some pre-recorded lines that they could work with, you know, or something, or if they had someone that sounded very similar, like, I could maybe get away with that, you know? But, you know, that stuff is such a hit and miss, and
Yeah.
I'd rather them not take that miss and be so disrespectful.
Yeah, I hope so too. That's just how I feel. What I feel is going to happen. Or, you know, the thing is, he didn't tell anybody that he was dying, so it's not like there's some hidden footage that they could use. They can use to kind of put that scene in because he kept it very secret.
Yeah. It's like he didn't want it.
Also, you gotta give the dude, like, major props that he recorded all these movies while with cancer.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is a Chad move if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, it works.
It works.
Look, whenever I think of a Chad move from now on, I'm going to be thinking about him. Like, that's just how that works.
Yeah.
Like, it literally, it just works. Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the amount of respect that he has earned and is supposed to be given out of this, like, is all, like, well worth it, you know? Like, I feel like it can't be summarized in words or actions, like, how much respect he should be, like, earned.
All the respect. Kind of to move off of that sad note, I saw something else too. I don't know if it's true because it's just stories that I see scrolling through Facebook, but they may be in talks of bringing the Netflix superheroes like Daredevil, those actors, to the MCU to reprise their roles.
Could see it. I don't know if it's going to happen this phase.
I don't think it'd happen this phase, but I could see it happening, and I know a lot of people want that. Like, they want the dude that played Punisher to be Punisher in the MCU.
Yeah.
I would love that. He did a good job. The Daredevil.
Matt Murdock needs to represent Spider-Man as his lawyer, though.
That could be how they bring him in. That
needs to happen. Freaking.
I don't know what's happening in the next Spider-Man is the thing. Like, it's so...
They're so worried that Spider-Man's actor...
Tom Holland.
Yeah. There's too many Toms.
I know that name.
They're so worried about Tom Holland spilling the beans that they're not telling anyone. Not even Tom Holland. They're just like, you're coming here, you're saying these lines, and he's like, in what context? And they're just like, shut up.
I honestly, okay, one thing I didn't even realize, again, looking at casting gives me so much, like, interest as to, like, what the fuck's happening with this? Like, is this a thing? Like, is this actually gonna be the case? Because, I mean, obviously, okay, J.K. Simmons, he's coming back, you know, J. Jonah Jameson, you know, I'm happy, you know, like, best casting of any character ever. Changed my mind. I'm
not accepting criticism at this point.
Yeah, one of the ones that I'm also really interested in, because, man, I thought that he retired from acting, which is Jamie Foxx is going to be Electro again, like he was in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
And I'm just like, you know, I really appreciate how the MCU is being like, okay, you know, you were casted really well in this thing, we're just going to bring you back. Like,
yeah,
we've got
like
money. Fuck you. Like,
if only we can get them to do that with X-Men.
because I mean, like, you know, it's all been talked about. You know, we've got original Doc Ock coming back as Doc Ock.
He was such a good Doc Ock.
Like, he was. Like it's one of those weird things of like, okay, are we getting possibly finally the thing where we get like, what is it? Is it the Big Six? What's the big villain
Sinister
organization?
Six.
The Sinister Six. I have fucking been waiting for them to finally have the balls to go all out on that. And I feel like if you had a world where it would work, it would be like the MCU going on right now. Does that mean that Vulture's gonna get out of jail and go back to a life of crime and just fucking hunt down Spider-Man anyways? No fucking clue. Like,
I don't know.
but I mean, we've got at least 2 pieces of it.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I have to fill you in on a little secret. I work for Marvel. I know how Spider-Man's gonna end.
Oh, do you?
Yes. Do you want to hear?
Yes.
Is it where they point at each other and we have multiverse and they do the pointing at each other?
No, but I would imagine if they are doing that and like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in it, there's gonna be that scene.
Fucking
fucking do it if they're all in it.
It would be the funniest fucking moment of the MCU ever.
They already, but they kind of already did that in Spider-Verse, though.
Exactly. That's why we get the live-action adaptation version of it, where they're just all in normal clothes as Peter Parker, not as Spider-Man, just in the street pointing at each other, going, "What? What?
No. I know how it's gonna end. It's gonna end with somebody going, "What the fuck?" and it cuts off. Because that's how both Spider-Man movies have ended so far.
That's true.
Oh, that is true. That both of them ended that way. They're all just gonna be pointing at each other and be what?
Doing all the hot takes. Hot takes. No one would ever predict these hot takes that we do here. Guys. I know that this is a really hot take, but there's gonna be another phase after phase 4.
Shut up! You weren't supposed to say anything.
I know. It's a big
contract,
leak.
Dude.
I know it's a big leak, and guess what? The Disney is gonna continue making superhero movies. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, it's insane to think that, but you know, it's a possibility. It's a hot take.
It is indeed. Wow, we've talked about a lot.
We have. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with Phase 4. I mean, like there's a lot big deal. I mean, it's this weird thing of like, you know, up until stuff started rolling out with Phase 4, I was always kind of just like, I just don't want to watch any of it, you know? I just don't want anything to be tainted. But, you know, with the possibilities and the new horizons that are coming across, I feel like Phase 4 is actually on the up and up.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. Like, when, sorry, I've had soda, so I'm a little carbonated. When Endgame ended, I was like, I'm good. It ended on a good note. I'm good. I'll move on. I don't really have any hope for these new movies and shows coming out. Especially the shows, just because I've watched the superhero shows on like the CW and stuff like that, like Flash and all that stuff. They're okay. They're not great. They're okay. And then they get worse because, you know, we have to kill everything good. So I didn't have much hope with the shows, but WandaVision followed by Falcon and Winter Soldier really made me like, oh, you can make a really good superhero show.
I think it's mostly just you need to make it almost more of like a mini series rather than a show.
I think also I think Disney made a smart move because they knew that it was a Disney Plus seller. I think that's why they put so much effort into making it good, is because they knew, like, well, it's only going to be on our thing, and it's going to really sell some subscription. So I really want this to be good. Whereas, you know, if it fucking airs at, like, 9 o'clock at night on whatever the fuck channel, on, like, AMC or some shit, who cares? Like, it makes money based on views on a TV channel, so we'll just throw some money at it, but not a lot.
True. So, is there anything else to talk about the MCU?
I mean, we kind of talked about maybe like our theories and stuff like that. Like, I just want to bring up, I brought them up before, and I just want to say, like, because there's really nothing to go on, but the Blade possibility for a movie and Fantastic Four, like, do we have any sort, like, because we don't even know if these are going to be movies, right? Like, the Fantastic Four seems more possible as like them trying to work that in, because I feel like that's MCU friendly, but Blade is so different than what they're going for.
I think
I have no idea.
Something to think about is that Blade is kind of like confirmed that it can work as a movie.
But can it work in the MCU?
I mean, I think if it can work in the MCU, it can work as a movie or as a show. It kind of then becomes, okay, well, what do they want to do? Do they want to make it a show, or do they want to make it a movie? And I honestly think since, Disney and all that stuff is run by kind of old people, they're going to stick with what they know, and that's movies.
So Blade is a vampire hunter, right? Vampire hunter?
Yeah, basically.
So, this could also be something else that I saw that is confirmed. Sony is bringing over their Spider-Man movies onto Disney+.
So,
interesting.
So Morbius?
Could be.
That would make sense. If this was more of a Sony-based thing, I could see it kind of work. Because, like, again, the Sony Spider-Man thing is in such a weird realm of limbo where, like, is there a possibility where, like, eventually the merge is completed and, like, Sony and Disney somehow make this massive merge acquisition thing? And, like, the movies of, like, Venom and, like, Morpheus and all that. Morpheus? Is that the right?
Morbius, I think.
Morbius. I don't know why I said Morpheus. I was like, this isn't the Matrix! Like, if those really do a big merge and, like, Because, I mean, it's still so strange thinking about how that movie's going to work with, like, how there's characters from the MCU in it that are reprising the same roles.
Yeah, I was just going to say, isn't Vulture in it?
He is. And it's the same, still Michael
Keaton.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm here for it. I, for one, welcome our new Disney overlords.
Please do not damage me.
I'm anxious to see how it works and how they're going to pull it off.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait until the next thing comes out, which should be Loki.
No, it's the movie Shang-Chi.
Black Widows comes out before that.
Oh, well, Black Widow's supposed to have come out last year, so until I see it on my Disney Plus that I can purchase it, I ain't believing it's coming out. I've been lied to so many times.
Well, whatever comes out first, we'll just have to wait and see until that comes out, and then we'll figure out what comes next.
Is it about time for wrap up?
I think so. We've been going for like 3 hours.
I think so.
Yeah.
It is. We've been going on for a little over 2 hours.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm making a sandwich right now.
I want food. I gotta start dinner. We're having barbecue chicken tonight.
Yeah. So let's call it here. The first Let's Take a Short Rest podcast.
this was a good short rest. I feel rejuvenated, and that I can go smash some people in the face.
I'm gonna spend a couple hit dice.
Get some of that HP back.
HP restored. A couple of abilities come back. We're ready to take on the rest of our day. All right, so everybody who's listened to this point, thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time. We have to take a short rest.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.